What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for the title of this video. Do not get it twisted. I think ProJared is a complete weirdo, a creep, a guy who probably was involved with underage kids alongside a whole slew of mess, including his marriage and cheating and divorce and all these other things that he mishandled. But in this video, I want to talk about some of the quote-unquote evidence that I've found and why it may not be as bad as I first thought for him. Last we left off with his most recent tweet from May 17th, his weak apology talking about how he heard all the accusations, he's sorry about them, and then proceeded to blame everything on his soon-to-be ex-wife and everybody else involved with the situation, and didn't really accept any of the blame personally. A lot of people had an issue with this, including myself. A lot of people thought it was a complete lie, a fabrication of reality, twisting the truth in his angle and on his side. And that pretty much is what I believe it to be. But what I believe and what the facts of evidence are may be two different things. Researching one of the people who had made claims against ProJared, one of the fans of his channel that had had interactions with him on his Tumblr, wrote a long string of tweets, and while it does provide some insight to what he was dealing with ProJared, it doesn't necessarily prove that Jared had contact with these people when they were underage. Late to all this, but I was a former subscriber of ProJared. I don't chime in much on this stuff, but after taking into account everyone's statements, Ross really is the only innocent person in this, it seems, and I would agree with that. Jared is obviously the biggest scumbag for sending his photos to minors thing. Heidi seems to have withheld info. Holly is a cheater. Yes, yes, and yes. It seems like after combining all the info, Heidi wanted an open relationship, Jared agreed, Jared has his lewd Tumblr, Heidi has multiple partners, including a long-term boyfriend, Jared eventually shacks up with Holly because they start clicking behind Ross's back, Holly falls for Jared, now Heidi says to shut the open relationship down, in doing so admitting that she knew stuff was going on behind Ross's back. Now whether she did this out of love or out of fear of losing her primary source of income is up for question, who knows. In the end, Jared determined he was no longer wanting to be with Heidi, wanted to divorce her, and wants to be with Holly. Heidi then goes scorched earth. It's really just one big clown car. Jared's dirtbag who should be in jail, Heidi's deceiving, and Holly is a blatant cheater. I could be completely wrong, but this just seems how it is if you take both Heidi and Jared's statements into account and try to piece things together. There's still a lot of missing info that would help, but that will probably get used in the divorce proceedings in court. I 1000% agree with everything Visual Keiko is saying here. That pretty much is the situation that ProJared and the associates find themselves in right now. And even Heidi's Tumblr is kind of strange in a way and kind of shows that she's not as innocent as she might have first come across. Someone asked her, how do you feel about your husband's obsession with nudes? And she said, the fact that I get this question all the time tells me people expect me to be upset about it. Jared can post whatever he wants on his Tumblr. He's not hurting anyone. He's not cheating on me. He's just a funny guy making jokes. That was Heidi's official response a couple years ago to someone asking about him sending nudes to fans. Here's another post. I know that you aren't bothered by Jared's obsession with nudes, which is great because it's funny, but are you bothered if people actually send him nudes? No, he shows them to me and we high-five about it. So while it doesn't really touch on the underage thing, it definitely shows that she was on board with this happening a couple years ago, and that makes it very strange. The entire relationship was really effed up. Our site on the r/ProJared official apology mega thread wrote something very interesting. One of the underage people accusing him said they specifically told him they were 16 and asked not to have the picture they sent him posted to the Tumblr, but that he edited the age to look legal and posted it anyway. Conflicting account for sure, but in his own non-apology to Chai, he pretends he doesn't remember anything that happens in the private messages and then apologizes for the thing he claims to not remember. If he really doesn't remember things like that, I wouldn't trust any kind of insinuation that he could remember which pictures belong to who and then to remove them. On the other hand, considering we have proof that he would send his own nudes to minors, I'm willing to believe he'd also ignore the ages of minors and post them as part of his intensely illegal power trip. Yes, this is all hearsay though, because there is nothing technically official coming from Chai as far as evidence. And that is the biggest thing that's hurting in this case. I want to make one thing clear. I do think ProJared had interaction with people while they were underage. Unfortunately, there is no solid evidence against that. It's only, I told him this and he said okay and then proceeded to ignore it. That doesn't really prove anything. All the evidence that this Chai character is saying was on a Tumblr that was deleted, and it was called something along the lines of Sinners, and he named all of his followers on that Tumblr the Sinners. It was a very strange, weird grooming site as far as these accusations are concerned. But like I said, that Tumblr has since been deleted by ProJared, and the only thing people have found are some archive posts, and they are very, very strange. Here are some of his archive posts from his Tumblr, and yeah, they are just some weird drawings, fan art of ProJared that he shared with his fans that everybody knows had underage fans in that Tumblr. So he made no attempts to try to hide these things from what it looks like. There were a lot more lewd images as well, but these are the ones that I was finding that were shared on ProJared's Tumblr. And like I said, he had porn blogs as well. And he had an audience of a lot of young children. Is that his fault, though? I mean, it kind of is. When you are in the position he's in, you have a duty, a responsibility to try to be careful what kind of material you're going to be sharing with your audience. And he didn't seem to make any attempts to limit who was able to see the blogs that he was posting these things to. So it's a weird mashup of things that were putting him into a bad situation. But again, that's just a porn blog, and viewers of his channel were going to it. Some of them were underage. Some of them should not have been looking at it. But also that goes to, should ProJared have been responsible for that? Is he in trouble because he had been posting lewd images on there? No, posting lewd images on a porn blog is not something he should get in trouble for. So let's see what else he did. Here's proof. I emailed Holly Conrad on the 3rd of April 2019. This is from Chai, and his real name, he says, is Charlie. There are 2 people who have come forward and accused ProJared of having underage interactions with him and sending nudes back and forth. And here's what he listed as the proof from the first one. ProJared has behaved dangerously toward underage people in the past, myself included. I've attached a document of evidence. The document was made for someone else, and so it isn't specifically to you, and the actual evidence doesn't start till halfway down the document. The rest is just context. I want to tell you because you work with him so much, and I figured you'd want to know. I'm the person referred to as Chai in the document. Me and the other person willing to speak are both called Charlie. So this started all the way back in April of 2019, about a full month before everything really came forward with the divorce and all that, and then this started coming to light. But he talks about the edit history in the document. He doesn't actually include the document with his proof, which I thought was kind of strange, unless the document is just proof from these tweets. Here is something about his June 2016 proving his original Tumblr, where I had most contact with him, was deleted, hence my evidence no longer existing, which is convenient, but also it's true. So don't blame him for that. But here's Jared saying, for those of you wondering, my Tumblr page is back up and restored, but all the followers are gone. Come back. So it looks like Jared had a Tumblr. He had a lot of interactions, potentially with underage fans, and he caught on to, this actually is a trail of evidence. I need to get rid of it. So he moved forward with removing the Tumblr, and everyone lost all their evidence. Nobody really kept any of it. But there's an old Tumblr post from Jared's old blog, pre-June 2016 deactivation. I know Holly was never officially a grump, but yeah, yoicks, dude. Anonymous asked, will you be trading nudes with the grumps on Grumpcade? ProJared deactivated. Yes, but instead of nude photos, it's actually being naked with each other. And instead of trading, it's 69ing. So ProJared is not really doing anything illegal here. He's trading nudes and talking about doing sexual acts. There's nothing here directly relating to underage, unfortunately, as far as proof is concerned. Now, Chai does claim to have been under 16 at the time, and he had a private message with ProJared that he posted here. I apologize for making you uncomfortable. One of the individuals that you emailed chose to speak to me on the matter, and this is how I got in contact with you. They told me about this willingly and with concern for all parties. I want to apologize for my past behavior. I've not been healthy emotionally or mentally for a long time, and this is a cause of that. I'm not making excuses for anything. I want to own up for that bad behavior. I always wanted to do my best to be sure I was speaking with consenting adults. I feel certain I was upfront about only speaking with people who are over 18. If I had known your age at the time at all, I certainly would not have continued any kind of conversation or inappropriate behavior. I honestly struggle to remember the chats in any capacity. I have been getting a lot of therapy and attended a mental health retreat since then, so I'm doing things to better myself. I'm not looking to make excuses or justify anything either. I also want to make sure that you're okay and that I'm sorry. So in this message, ProJared says, I only wanted to have interactions with those who are over 18. If I had known your age at the time, I wouldn't have continued any kind of conversation or inappropriate behavior. Which is interesting because that's basically ProJared saying, dude, I didn't know you were underage, and if I did know that, definitely wouldn't have been having that interaction with you. And Charlie here says, here's the apology. I firmly believe Holly was the person who chose to speak to him on this matter. The apology is manipulative. He claims he struggles to remember the chats in any capacity, thus making it seem like I'm making it up. However, he still apologized for that behavior. He didn't remember it. The message kind of confirms Heidi's statement that Jared is manipulative. Here's the thing. From just reading this out of context, I don't see anything being manipulative about it. I see a dude that's like, whoa, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were underage at the time. If I had known that, I definitely wouldn't have done anything with you. This is the evidence that Charlie is putting forward. It's not necessarily good evidence to fight against ProJared in any kind of lewd manner. This is something that's basically stating ProJared didn't know he was underage and he felt bad about it. So that almost helps ProJared's case. I don't look at this as being manipulative. I look at this as a really weird dude who struggled mentally and emotionally for a very long time and said, I'm sorry I didn't know you were underage. Even though Chai is saying he did know, he doesn't provide any proof. It's all hearsay. He said he knew I was. We talked about it. I told him my age, and he conveniently forgets that. Okay. You need to provide the proof of that, otherwise it's just an accusation. And honestly, if I'm just trying to be as unbiased as possible in this situation, for all I know, you could just be a pissed off fan because Jared stood you up and never went anywhere with you, and this is your way of trying to get back at him. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that's an angle people could take on this without any kind of proof. I do believe Chai. I believe this is all the case, but there is no evidence confirming that, and that is the biggest problem with getting any kind of conviction on ProJared. There is just no strong evidence against him. So this is the other Charlie, and here's the evidence that he's provided as being underage when he was sharing nudes with ProJared on his Tumblr. Hey, so my friend Chai just came out and posted a story on Twitter, so I figured I'd do the same. I'm the other person he mentioned in his post. I do have evidence, but please understand that a lot of it is very personal, and this I'm not comfortable with releasing all of it yet. I will be putting some of it in this thread. When I was around the same age as Chai, 15 to 16, I was a really, really big fan of ProJared. He was funny and seemed harmless. Then it escalated. Jared is a grown man. I'm sure he understands a significant chunk of his audience are middle and high schoolers. An open invitation to send him nudes is oddly predatory and just kind of messed up for a content creator to put out there, especially when there's a risk for minors, again, a good portion of his following, sending you nudes. I would agree 1,000% with that. But there's no proof, unfortunately, that anyone underage was providing any kind of nudes to him. This is all hearsay. Here is some evidence. Didn't you have a porn blog once? Yes, I had 7, like I referenced earlier. This is proving that ProJared did indeed run multiple porn blogs and advertise that on his main blog. Okay, still no evidence for underage though. Here's a screenshot from that blog, SinJared, the porn blog talked about in my post. Someone else owns the URL now, but it's proof nonetheless that he at one point did have this URL. SinJared, I am a god, I claim the URL. This isn't Jared, by the way. However, he wants it back. Hit me up, boy. I am a god, I claim the URL. Okay, that's not really proof of anything, but okay, cool. So apparently ProJared did have that. Great. Let's find some proof and evidence that he was dealing with underage people. Saying, "Oh no, you're cute," is a fan, is a skeevy and kind implies that he knows that on some level he knew the relationship we had. Fan creator was inappropriate. His attention spurred me on. Yes, it was extremely inappropriate. Nobody is questioning that. That's not the issue. That is something that he's a slimeball, he's a creep, he's someone who should be paying for his misjudgments. But here's the thing. What I'm looking for is the underage, the nudes, the dealing with people who were not of consensual age in the United States or whatever state he was dealing with them. To someone without knowing their knowledge, kind of weird, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, ProJared is a messed up dude. He even admits that in his apology, that he's been trying to get help because he has a lot of issues with that. Not an excuse, but at least he's trying to be accountable in his initial apology. Not to mention he called it a super secret community. Chai and I also feel like this was manipulative, an attempt to make me feel special by letting me into his porn blog. Okay, so that kind of sounds like Charlie playing the victim of the creator and then the viewer, the fan relationship where he felt obligated to provide nudes to him to make him feel empowered. And yes, there is something there. That is true. That is not a good thing. But it doesn't prove anything about underage. That's the problem. Yes, ProJared did a lot of bad things. Yes, he dealt with a lot of his fans. And yes, most likely, many of them were underage. But there is no proof of that happening yet. At least nothing clear and concise to the point of throwing the book at him and saying, this dude should be going away to jail for years now because he did this with these kids, these underage people. There's nothing like that here. Posts on his main blog, minors allowed, encouraging people to draw him. Okay, so this is an issue, having minors allowed on a blog like this, but again, that's, I don't believe, illegal because it's just the internet. Like, maybe you need to put one of those, make sure you're 18 before you go forward on this, but there's nothing here saying anything about a direct relationship sharing nudes with underage kids, which is what I've been looking for with all this supposed evidence here. More proof of it existing. I'm not questioning the existence of an effed up Tumblr. That is clear as day that he had a porn blog, a Tumblr, a lot of issues, definitely with a lot of underage fans, but there is nothing that I'm finding that clear-cut shows him doing anything with an underage person. There have been claims from Chai, the original poster here, saying that he told him he was under 16 at the time, but there's no proof of that because Chai claims that the Tumblr was deleted and anything from that was missing. So that's where we find ourselves with ProJared. He's a weirdo, he's a creep, he sends his nudes to fans and encourages them to send them back to him, and has accusations that some of these fans, Charlie and Charlie, two different people, had been dealing with him when they were between the age of 15 and 16, according to them. But unfortunately, that's all that's come forward, and there has been no clear-cut evidence that they were that age when he was sending these posts and pictures to them. I'm sure it was happening, but without any kind of evidence, there's not much legal action that can be taken. Someone needs to come forward and drop a bomb with evidence showing clear-cut, no questions about it, they were underage, Jared knew about it, and was proactively interacting with them and even maybe doing more than that. Who knows? But until that happens, I don't really think there's anything here that you can do against him, because all of this conversation it's really messed up. But if you're of the age of consent when it happened, there's not really much you can do. It could just be chalked up to a broken relationship of somebody abusing their power in the position that they're in. And there's nothing illegal about that. It's just very wrong on a lot of different levels. This is not saying that ProJared is an innocent person by any means. This is saying we need to find some more evidence on him if he's ever going to get in any kind of serious trouble going forward, because this right here, these strings of text that they share, it's gross, it's lewd, it's weird, it's creepy. but it doesn't prove anything about being underage. ProJared is a confirmed creeper. He's a confirmed weirdo. He's a dude that enjoys his nudes being sent out so that the world can see them. He's an exhibitionist. He's someone who dealt with a lot of minors, and he's someone who abused his power as a large content creator in the position he was in. But unfortunately, so far, there has not been any overwhelming evidence of him dealing with someone who's underage. And while we all know that's probably what was happening, we need the evidence if anything's going to happen with it. Anyways, that's where I'm going to leave this video, but I will keep an eye on this situation going forward. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.